It's Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa at SummerSlam. Ooh, which is what we thought it probably all would be.
It's been pointing towards that.
Yeah, but now it's like sort of official.
Well, yeah, you see, it's not official because Nick Aldis wasn't there.
Yes.
So
for some reason.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, it feels like after Money in the Bank, it was very much pointing in the Cody Rhodes Solo Sikoa direction. However, I think there's an interesting wrinkle to all of this. In that they've been pointing out all of the Roman Reigns stuff all the time. Some big "we want Roman" chants on this show, which means we have a discussion to have about is Roman Reigns coming back and when is he coming back?
Yes, that is kind of there's the overtext of it all.
Yes,
and that's kind
exactly.
Of
So hello, welcome to the Rest Up Podcast. I'm Pete Quinnell. I'm joined by Dan Layton. Dan, it is in fact coming home. Way, love that.
No, Pete didn't come home.
It's coming home, Dan.
No, we lost.
Dan,
Pete, we lost.
Coming home.
We actually lost the match.
I don't know. I mean, they scored, and I heard people going crazy down the street. So
it was
obviously
a really good goal, Pete.
That means we won.
No, it was a really good goal, and then Spain. Yeah, I just like to do the show. I came here to do the show.
If it's your first time here, subscribe. I'm not always here. I'm not always mocking Dan. I promise.
No. This is the weekend update. We call it that sometimes, where we will be discussing what went down over the weekend, the big stories. And this weekend there was no pay-per-views, no special shows, so it was very much a SmackDown Collision weekend. We're going to get into it. I'm going to take you through SmackDown, and Pete's going to take you through Collision. But
please,
we're going to open with SmackDown because I think it's fair to say this is where the main. It wasn't a story-heavy show for either brand, to be honest with you, but on this occasion, finishing with a confirmation of Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes in as like written in pencil, going to be underlined in pen at some point.
Yeah,
it's kind of an interesting thing because especially when you consider Solo Sikoa hasn't been like this is his big solo feud. Unintended feud, like kind of thing. It's a really fascinating time that he's been put in this position. What am I talking about? We're going to get into the segment because as it began, followed on directly from the tag team title match that had come beforehand. A-Town Down Under were having a little scrap with each other when Jacob and Fatu just sort of ran right through them, which is my kind of thing. I love when the segments all interweave. And in fact, we got that a few times in backstage segments on this show, so I'm very grateful for it. In the ring, Tommaso Ciampa tried to get a DDT, well, in fact, did hit a DDT on Jacob Fatu, but it didn't work because apparently his head is reinforced with steel. Randy Orton did a DDT and it didn't work at Money in the Bank. So instead, he hit a colossal Samoan drop, various springboard splashes, giving us that taste of what Jacob Fatu has to offer. It's absolutely sick. And then the rest of the Bloodline came down to join him in the ring, and that's where Solo follows on from a video package that he'd had earlier on in the night where he sort of pointed out that the previous regime had failed or gone, and so now he'd had to reinforce the Bloodline and bring in this new blood, a new enforcer, a new wrecking machine. And he has done that with the people in the ring. He says this is what happens when folks don't acknowledge him, reminds us what he did to Paul Heyman recently, and says now it's time for Cody Rhodes to acknowledge him. That's when Cody's music hits and the champ comes out and says, you know what, basically, why bother beating around the bush? We can consider it official for SummerSlam. I just have to talk to Nick Aldis about it, but it'll be you and me for the title, which I think is where we'd all sort of seen it going.
Yeah.
Peppered throughout this, of course, are the classic vocal and integral "We Want Roman" chants. And I say that because it's one of those things where we're still getting used to good quality storytelling in WWE, and so thus fans not hijacking it with chants to sort of say they want something else. "We Want Roman" is a chant directly at Solo.
Yes.
And that's why it feels like this overarching commentary that we need to talk about with Roman. Cody is our big white meat babyface boy who says he'd rather not wait. He'd rather do it here and now, but he's outnumbered 4-1, which is a bit dumb, to be honest with you, Cody. You know, but you'd sort of knew this. And I know earlier on in the night, Randy Orton had said, look, I've got your back, but 2 is still less than 4.
Sure is.
Last time I checked.
That's some quick maths right there.
He lands a few blows because he's the champ and he's jolly good at this, but the numbers game will ultimately win out. Orton comes out and makes the save, manages to hit Solo with the DDT, but Fatu clatters into him and the numbers take over again. So they trap Cody in the ropes, and Jacob is sort of shoulder barging him, like really having a go at Cody's ribs, try and weaken him there. And while Cody is sort of crucifixed, the symbolism. He looks down as Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa wrap up Randy Orton. They kind of hit him with some stairs for a little bit, and then they hold him while Fatu does 3 super kicks, and then they lift him up and they hit him with the shield bomb, which is now very much, I think, solidified as this bloodline's move. The previous bloodline didn't really do it, or at least they didn't make a habit of it. We maybe saw it occasionally, but this is now their thing. You know, they're going to do the shield bomb, and it is very, very pertinent because we want Roman chants echoing throughout the arena. This bloodline that looks nothing like your previous bloodline in terms of energy, like the you know, Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga have nothing like the Usos vibe. You know, Solo was the enforcer who you felt like could absolutely destroy you, but Jacob Fatu feels like that, but he's like rabid. There's something sort of like what they keep calling a werewolf or something. I can't remember what
Samoan werewolf.
Yeah, and he's got that energy about him. Something vicious, and especially every time he gets hit with a DDT and then looks down lens like I'm fine.
Yeah,
it's incredible. So yeah, it's really interesting then to consider. We talked a lot about this sort of generational pop that is going to happen, and sorry, Luco, and you hate the word generational these days, but it's in this case it is accurate. I think the Roman Reigns return pop is always one that hits. Has for the past year or so.
Put a graphic on it. Roman Reigns returns.
Like we get that, and then we're excited, and his having been in the room when it's happened.
Yeah,
it's you want to stand up, and even though he was the heel, you do want to acknowledge him because of the projection, because of the aura. When he returns, this time, it's gonna be next level. So my question to you, Pete, is:
yes,
do you save that for a stadium full of people at SummerSlam, or do you want to do that a little bit sooner? Or do you want to wait beyond SummerSlam?
So I think the latest they should do it is SummerSlam. I think it... I mean, they absolutely could make the story work to have Roman come out post-SummerSlam, depending on what happens between Cody and Solo at SummerSlam itself. They definitely... I'm not going to say that, it would ruin the story or anything like that. I'm not going to be hyperbolic. But I think that it makes perfect sense for Roman to be included in this story of Cody and Solo, particularly with all the teasing they've been doing. Now, I don't know if you know this about me, but I really like the Bloodline.
Yeah, you do quite. Yeah, you've notable Bloodline stan.
Really like the story. I also just want to point out as well that I don't know how they have managed to make Roman a babyface without doing anything to change him. He was a heel, was very heelish in the tag team match that he had at Mania, was a heel against Cody at Mania in the singles match, lost, and everyone was like, love Roman.
Right.
Just from
this
this
is
other
wrestling,
bloodline taking over,
Yeah.
right? I think that's beautiful. I also love, you mentioned the Shield bomb here, I love that they've been talking about Roman, and they've been like, we're not Roman. I've been taken over from Roman. When Roman comes back, he's going to acknowledge me as the tribal chief. And then they do the Shield powerbomb, which obviously is a tease to Roman himself, like a nod to him. But also, it's reminding us of the really cool Roman that we really love.
Yeah.
It's babyface Roman, even though the Shield were heels. Everyone very fondly remembers the Shield. So reminding us of Roman Reigns as a babyface through the Shield powerbomb is almost fueling that babyface reaction to wanting to see him back that much more. Do you think it's so clever?
Yeah,
I love it.
We're not saying, and I don't think we would say, and I don't think anyone would say that we want to see the return of Baba,
No, of course not.
Baba,
Yeah.
Roman Reigns.
No, of course not.
There is something really interesting about, especially because the Shield was such a big part of that storyline at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That now still being a part of this.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love it so much. But yes, I think that I personally would save that pop for SummerSlam. I think unless here's my two worldviews here. I think you have Roman interfere at SummerSlam and decide whichever way he's going to go with Cody and Solo.
This
right?
is the other half of the question that maybe we should talk about before we do that, which is to say, who have you got at SummerSlam? Because I think the obvious answer is it's Cody. I think most people would sit there and go, well, Cody's going to retain the belt.
I think so as well.
But I do, while we're exploring these ideas, what happens if you put the belt on Solo?
I don't think that's the right choice, personally.
Tell me why.
Because I don't think Solo's the guy right now. I think they're building him to be that guy, but I think they're still in the building process. And I think the person who beats Cody needs to be like, not necessarily same level as, it's not as built up as the person to beat Roman, right? But the person to beat Roman was always this big mythical, like, who could it possibly be this big thing? I think if you have Solo win now, I don't think it's quite the right time.
It's the who is at the top of the card, isn't it?
Yes.
It's they need to bring everybody to the top of the card with them so that in the post-Roman Reigns era with that championship belt, they all need to feel like stars. And that's why I think a lot of us have pointed to, that's why AJ Styles was successful. He's a former champion. The matches were absolutely lit.
They were great.
I think, Randy Orton is an example of someone where you're like, well, we want to see Cody versus Randy because they've got the history and Randy is an established top star. That's why people kind of want to see John Cena versus Cody Rhodes over this retirement run that he's about to go on. Solo's not quite there yet. There is an argument, I feel like, if I'm sitting there in the creative pitching for, he's already the false chief. He's already wearing the lei.
Yep.
Oh, it's not a lei, is it? It's the...
I forget the actual name of
you
it.
made a whole video about
I know
it.
I did.
This is your thing.
And then it went away again.
That's fair. There's a lot of information. But either way, he wears the chain and it's not... It's you're sitting on the throne, but you're not the king. Give him the belt as well, and it's another thing that is not he's not earned, and that. But that's to your point about Roman as the babyface. The reason Roman is the babyface is because we all enjoyed. It's that weird quirk of wrestling where we've all enjoyed the heel character so much that we were just grateful for him.
Yes,
and then now that he's gone, and we've had Solo enter this false chief era, we're like, you aren't the star. We're going to cheer for the guy who is the star. You with his belt feels even more hollow. So there's an argument to be made for it. Personally, I would keep the belt on Cody. And does that then shape, because you were going to make a couple of pitches for how Roman comes back.
Yeah, so I think either you just do Cody Solo at SummerSlam, and Roman comes out during the match. There's probably bloodline interference. Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, they're all there. Have a bloodline rules match. Why not? Have the big cameo spot fest like we had at WrestleMania. And that's when Roman comes out, and I've been pitching for like a month that he stands in the ring, Cody's in one corner, Solo's in another, and he looks at Cody, and he looks at Solo, and he looks at Cody, and he looks at Solo, and then he spears Solo, and it'll be really cool. And that's how he helps Cody retain, because I think that's a really interesting dynamic to have Cody and Roman almost on the same side. The other pitch would be you bring him back before SummerSlam, because there are 3 more SmackDowns before SummerSlam, including the go-home show the same week. And because the match isn't official yet between Cody and Solo, there is room to do a triple threat. If you wanted to bring Roman back.
More?
Yes.
This Friday?
This Friday, which is
Next
like the
Friday.
19th, the one after, and then August 2nd.
You're so
'Cause
right.
It's on August 3rd.
Yeah,
it's
you're
3.
so
I looked it up before the show started to make sure I was right.
Look at you being a professional.
So I think there's every chance you could bring Roman back, do a triple threat at SummerSlam. Like, have him insert himself into the story. And obviously, he's pissed off at Solo because he's taken his spot. But he's also pissed at Cody because Cody beat him at WrestleMania. And he's still like, you took everything from me. You caused Solo to be like this. So it's like he's pissed off at both people. Cody's pissed at both people. Solo's pissed at both people. Like, there's a whole, like, I think a triple threat dynamic really works for the story, because sometimes it's like, this is a singles match with a third person. This, I think, is a genuine, like, everybody hates each other in this 3-way dynamic. I don't know if you would book that. I don't know how you'd book that. I don't know if Roman and Solo cancel each other out, or like, and that's how Cody retains, is like he pins Solo after Roman helps him, or what. I don't know. I don't know how it would work out in the match itself. But I think there's an argument to be made that if you bring him back, you could do a triple threat. And I think it might get a bit muddied if it's not. If Roman isn't part of the match, if you bring him back this coming SmackDown, or the one after, and it's still Cody Solo, there's always the asterisk to be like, and Roman. Like, where's he in this match? Like, not just what allegiance does he have on what side, because he's probably just going to be anti-Solo, but then he's just going to interfere in the match. He's just going to be there. And granted, that the Bloodline's probably going to interfere in the match anyway. But it feels like if you're going to bring him back and he's going to interfere in the match, you save that for SummerSlam to still keep it as a surprise. If you're going to bring him back before SummerSlam, you need something more than just, and Roman is part of this story too. And that, to me, is like a triple threat would fix that, because that's a reason to bring him back beforehand.
The seeds for this were sown in... I mean, they've been sown the whole time. That's part of the Bloodline extravaganza. But the seeds for Solo were sown in that main event WrestleMania match where he's there screaming, finish it. You're supposed to finish it. And he's just simply not able to. And that's kind of why Solo has then taken it upon himself to do this, because he was... It was the power dynamics were already quite interesting there. There's something really interesting in the fact that we now have... So I think everyone has sort of assumed the War Games Survivor Series, full stop, because we don't know that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
if we're going to get one, it's going to probably be Bloodline versus Bloodline, which sounds delicious and sign me up.
Yeah.
But that's 3 months away from SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So, and there are many blocks along that road anyway. Then you have to get from that Survivor Series to WrestleMania, which is a several month saga. And of course, within all of that is also the specter of the final boss, you know, The Rock, and The Rock versus Cody. And when we're talking about the idea that Roman is a big babyface now, it was never that we never wanted Rock versus Roman. We absolutely wanted The Rock versus Roman. It was just not in place of Cody versus Roman.
100%.
Because we were sold that and we bought it.
Yeah.
And then you were trying to tell us that we bought something else. That was the issue. So I'm then thinking, like, I kind of want to see The Rock versus Roman at this WrestleMania. I'm intrigued by Cody versus Roman, but not against the idea of Roman versus Rock, especially if you look at that as like a... we said for a long time that the Bloodline story doesn't really need the championship belt. It kind of... It needs the existence of a championship belt to make this point.
Yeah.
It just doesn't need the physical belt to be able to sell the story, kind of thing. And I'm just, there's so many options. For me, I would have it be after the match. He comes back.
Interesting.
I like the idea of the triple threat, especially if you're looking ahead to next year when, I think it's next year when they've got 2-night WrestleMania.
2-night SummerSlam is 2026,
2026,
I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was Minneapolis in 2025.
Yeah.
Christ. Oh god, there's so many things, but you're getting to a point where you're going to have a 2-night SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So that show needs to feel as big as WrestleMania in order to justify a 2-night extravaganza. And they clearly trust in their source enough to do that far and ahead and say in 2 years' time we're going to have a 2-night. And WrestleMania, it took 36 years and a pandemic for it to become a 2-night extravaganza.
Yeah.
SummerSlam has not been considered on WrestleMania level, certainly stadium size, until the past sort of 5 years or so. So it really is a statement if you put them in a triple threat in that main event in SummerSlam, or if you turn it into this kind of like, if WrestleMania is the end of your book to get ready for the next book in your series of books, this is the midpoint of the story of your annual year kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of different places you'd go with it. I think the idea of Solo, I don't know, the idea of an interference that doesn't go right for Solo, maybe Jimmy gets involved and tries to help Solo and tries to do right by the Bloodline, and it doesn't work, and so the Bloodline 2.0 start battering him, and that's when Roman makes his big return, and that is the seed that steps us to, because we've got 3 months to then sort of tell the story of how does Jey Uso come back into the fold, and is there a forgiveness arc, and you've got to earn that. You can't just do that. Does Sami Zayn get involved in that?
That's my next point. Would be, you get Roman, you get Jey, you get Jimmy, and then Sami at this point, I assume, would have dropped the IC belt. Why not? Let's just say that. And then, how does he reconcile with everything that Roman did? Because I'd love to see him as part of that team, with Jey and Jimmy and Roman. But how do they do that? With everything that Sami and Roman went through, all like the trauma that Roman put on him, like him being forced to watch the beatdown of KO with that Royal Rumble fantastic angle that happened, the match in Montreal and everything. Like, Sami's reconciled with Jey. They're fine. Sami still doesn't like Jimmy, and he still doesn't like Roman. So that's 2 out of 4.
Yeah.
That you got to make 2 out of 3 that you got to still, be on good terms with.
And his story at the moment, even including Chad Gable, really is about sort of morality and about doing right by people and looking out for your family and things like that. So it's still a present part of his character, even if it's not related to the bloodline. I just really like it. I just think it's good. It's good storytelling.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's something to this bloodline.
Yeah, I think they're onto something with this.
I think it's quite good.
I think it could go places. I think also, So I think it's you could make the triple threat argument. I feel personally, it stands on its own if he makes a return. So after the fact, but I think both options are quite good, and I think that's what one of the successes of this kind of Triple H GPS style of storytelling is that he is willing to take turns and he is willing to go places and try some things and okay, that didn't work and maybe we'll try this one and this did work but here's my destination and I have a plan and we're going to stick with it. And the bloodline within that, you know, obviously is spearheaded in many ways by Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns. They're all involved in it. So you've got to believe that they know what they're doing with this as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many different options. Fascinating that we're here.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that.
That's fine.
I love it.
This is a safe space for loving WWE.
Now I just want to, like, obviously you want music hits. Oh my God, it's Roman. Like, that moment of, pop, whatever. There is part of me that wants Paul Heyman to come out first and just go like, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone goes, oh my God.
That's it. By writing Paul Heyman off, he's now off to the island of relevancy to find, you know, he's looking for him.
Exactly.
There is something... It's you've got two options for the I mean, there's one pop that builds to the other one. My only issue with that one is it one of those, well, I've got a lunatic in mind. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, don't anticipate the pop. Let me have the pop. Yeah. Maybe Paul Heyman like shows up on the ramp seconds before or is in the crowd or someone's interfered. Yeah. It's Paul Heyman.
It's Paul Heyman. Why is he here?
Like, oh my God. I think, but like, you know what? I love being a fan. I love being a fan.
Isn't it nice?
This is quite good.
Yeah.
This is good.
I like
But what do you think? What do you think might happen? Would you bring Roman back sooner? Would you not have him come back at all? Because there's a possibility that they don't and we end up disappointed.
I did see a report this morning. I apologize in advance. I think it might have been PW Insider. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. That said that there are potential plans in place to bring Roman back in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
Before SummerSlam.
Interesting.
So... there's every chance that he could have some sort of influence, but I don't know what.
I'm going to go on this very briefly just because it's still quite fresh and a bit, you know, it's we want to be sensitive to these kind of things. But Roman's father passed away semi-recently. And obviously that's why Jay was at Money in the Bank, but they made a point of him not on it. And it was this whole idea of actually that's the family, the business and all of that. I wonder whether or not that might, out of sensitivity and out of you know respect, put a little bit pause on time of Roman coming back.
Maybe, yeah.
But also one interesting character development for Roman in his story with Cody Rhodes. Like, you know, weaving that kind of very real, very earnest, understandable pain that Cody knows sort of better than anyone when the mantle of your family name like it's kind of a really interesting part of the story. And I think that's another reason that I'm kind of less interested in Cody and Rock. I'm more interested in Cody and Roman side by side and what their beef and how they're now linked forever kind of you know what I mean?
What if they run it back for WrestleMania 41, but change it so it's Cody and Roman versus
don't say these things.
Rock and Solo.
Don't say these things and then they don't happen. But like it's such an interesting and how thrilling to be in a creative environment where certain things feel like they're on the table and it's not. It would be handled in a sensitive way.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
And also, I'd also like to point out that Sikoa had the moment with Roman at Hell in a Cell 2020 where he made him the tribal chief.
Yeah.
And Roman comes back and he's like, You've just taken it
from me.
My father crowned me the tribal chief. Yeah. You have just taken it and you've not earned it. That, I think, is an extra, like, dynamic into this whole, like, story, which is so
and it's that blend of truth and fiction that makes this so...
Which is the best bit of wrestling.
We love to see it.
Wrestling's good, isn't it?
We also love to see some of the other things that happened on this episode of SmackDown. Some were really good. Some were a bit like, oh, okay. And we sort of carried on. We opened with a Money in the Bank recap and the arrivals of both Cody Rhodes and DIY. And then Tiffany Stratton comes out to cut a promo. Interestingly, she says that Trish might have been the host of Money in the Bank, but she was the real star of the show because now it's Tiffy time, invoking the name of Trish Stratus. I think we might get a Tiffy Trish.
You reckon?
I think that's on the way.
That'd be cool.
And I'm excited to see it.
That'd be very cool.
It'll be even just a one match, because at the end of the day, one of the issues with the Money in the Bank briefcase has always been they just sort of have it and they go on a big losing streak. So a program with a legend is actually a way of maybe eating a loss somewhere to a legend, but then also putting yourself on a level. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I would like to see the Money in the Bank briefcase winner booked strong.
Yes, 100%.
You know, be a threat.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's also a way to kind of to put it nicely, kill a bit of time
exactly.
they cash in as well.
Because that's the other thing, when the briefcase can become a bit of an albatross around your neck, and I've said this a few times, but it's where you essentially just have a briefcase and your only reason to be at the arena is, are you going to cash in or not? And then part of, I think, the reason that Priest felt so cold for a while is that he was Money in the Bank winner, but more interested in the tag team stuff, and it was an occasional cash in, but it never felt like it was the right moment. In those first few months, it really felt like it could be something, because it was made to feel like something.
Yes.
So that's what you want to do, if you're me. Either way, she tells Liv, Bayley, and interestingly Roxanne Perez as well, to know that their reigns are on Tiffy time. She could be coming for any of them. So to put the NXT title on that par I just thought it was a notable choice. And Bayley comes out. Champ congratulates Tiff on the win. She looks to give her some advice. She lets her know she's going to fail if she tries to cash in on Bayley. Bayley, obviously, being someone who has cashed in the briefcase successfully previously.
Saying that she'll be the first woman
Indeed.
to fail a cash-in,
she would
which
be.
is good.
Nia Jax pops out of the promo train next to remind Bayley that she is the queen, and indeed she's waiting for their match at SummerSlam. They are due to compete for the women's title, and Bayley runs down their history. And Bayley and Nia Jax is a pairing that I like a lot. They had their match at NXT London. She's like, I'm not the hugger Bayley. Bayley obviously points out in 2017 Nia put her on the shelf, but now she's very different Bayley to all of those sort of iterations. I like the reminder of, I think Nia's been great since coming back. She's been very strong in terms of character work and being booked and things like that. And it reminds me of that early Nia run where she's facing Bayley, and I didn't want to see Bayley lose that belt, but I'm like, how are you going to beat Nia Jax? I don't see it happening for you, babe. So it's nice to kind of have that little reminder of their history together in canon. But if she happens to lose, she says, let's play devil's advocate. She decides to play Luke Owen for the day. She says, who will Tiffany cash in on Nia? Because is that not going to be harder for you? Nia's like, I don't see why you're trying to play this game. You're not going to cause a divide between us. So they have a little scrap, and then out comes Michin with a kendo stick to even the odds, which is very polite of her. And they're going to have a match after the break, but not before. Chelsea Green is backstage. Byron comes over with a microphone, and Chelsea's in this sort of glitzy, bedazzled neck brace with it. She absolutely has made herself.
Of course. It's great.
And she's there with Piper Niven. They're sort of waiting to have a little chat with Nick Aldis, and Byron tries to say something about Nick Aldis, but she cuts him off and makes him go away. Yeah. Then we go back to the ring. Just put a pin in that. What do you think of the Tiffany segment before we do the match?
I thought it was good. Nothing like crazy, but like a good, solid, like, I'm Miss Money in the Bank now. I could cash in at any point. The champions, you all better watch out. And Bayley being like, better not cash in on me. A reminder of the SummerSlam match with Nia and Bayley. It was all just like a really nice dynamic. There was a bit at the end as well where Tiffy went to like, Nia was leaving and Tiffany was like, I mean, I could cash in now because Bayley's down.
That's after the match.
So, that was after the match. Sorry, you're right. I'll save that for later.
Yeah. Because I liked that as well.
Yes.
Well, in the match, Michin's been on a little run recently, which I quite like. She had a good few matches down in NXT. I think she's a very good talent, and I like to see them get opportunities.
Yes.
So here she is on the main roster doing that with Nia, and she's using her speed and strikes to try and gain the upper hand, but it is Nia's strength that shuts her down sort of at every turn. Michin gets a Hurricane Rana, gives her a little burst of momentum, a cannonball, a couple of near falls. Tiffany goes to make a distraction, sort of sliding the kendo stick into the corner of the ring for Nia to use, but Bayley takes her out. Nia can't take advantage. Michin gets a tornado DDT for another near fall, but can't capitalize, walks right into Samoan drop and an annihilator for the 3. Post-match, Nia and Tiff batter Bayley, and this is where they go to leave, and I'm like, this is awkward. They haven't started playing the music, and they're just sort of like waiting to go, and they're waiting for their cue, but it's actually a plan. Because Tiffany is sort of looking at the prone Bayley lying on the ground, having been decimated, and the crowd are chanting, cash it in. And she certainly gives it a good think. She even like edges towards the referee, who's like, you want me to... Much quicker than Mike Yoda.
Oh, yes.
Who,
a briefcase.
Started to really, really enjoy himself towards the end of that little run, didn't he? And Nia comes over and is like, babe, you good? Probably
we don't have to do this now.
Probably don't do that.
Nah.
And then they go to leave.
Which is good.
Yeah, it was a good little match and a good little segment.
Yeah, I really enjoyed all of this. I thought it was a fun little match. It's nice to hear as well, like, during the course of the match, Michin was getting bigger and bigger reactions as it went. Like, the match built in quality over time. The crowd got more and more into it, which was great. Well, it was just a good match. Thumbs up from me.
I enjoyed. That's where we get the Bloodline video. That's what comes next. And then we go to Andrade. who is sat in the stands having an interview with Byron Saxton, who asks what's next. And as he's answering, Carmelo walks in and is like, hang on, why is this guy getting all this treatment? You seem to have forgotten that I was the first draft pick, and also I was the star of the Money in the Bank match. And Andrade's like, hang on. You ask me again. What's next for Andrade? He points and says, him. And let me tell you, Pete, I am going to watch that match.
Yeah. You know, I think I might as well, because that is very nice.
It's interesting. Andrade is the current speed champion, and they like to tote the 1.5 million views or whatever it's getting. But, like, you know, Twitter views are an interesting metric, by which I mean you kind of can't take them for face value. His use since his return has been a bit, like, sort of limp for me.
Yeah.
I think I was thrilled to see him in Money in the Bank, and I'm very excited to see this. And tying in later on in the show, I think a certain other championship needs to be back to give a lot of people things to do.
Agreed. Also, I'd just like to point out, I really like when they just do interviews in different places.
Yeah.
I really like it. When they're like, oh yeah, we spoke to him before the show started earlier, just up in the stands. Yeah, it makes it feel more like real. They don't just turn up for their match and then leave. Like, they're here at the stadium beforehand. So, well, he was free, so we grabbed him for an interview, you know, while he was checking out the stands. Like, great. Love that.
Because we know they do that.
Yeah, it makes it feel like a more lived-in world, that we're buying into. So I really like that.
Yeah, I really like that too. It's a nice touch. We go to a tag match, which was sort of set up on digital media, wherein Legado del Fantasma are taking on Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews, which starts with Baron Corbin launching Apollo Crews over the top rope to take out Legado del Fantasma before the bell rings. And I loved it. That was great.
Awesome.
They get in a few quick tags, and Legado are sent to the outside, and now it's Corbin's turn to be launched over the top for a plancha. That was also quite fun.
Love that.
It's back and forth little match. Corbin and Crews get the upper hand, and Humberto is sent to the outside, where Corbin then gets in the face of Santos Escobar, goes and sends himself and Humberto over the barricade, which is where Crews can then hit a gorilla press slam just as Elektra jumps on the apron, distracts the ref, allowing Escobar to slip in the match, hit a high knee, and then it's Angel Garza who gets the wing clipper, I believe it's called, for the win. I really liked this little match.
Yeah, I thought it was a good little match.
In terms of stakes, I would say it was low.
Very low.
But I enjoyed myself.
Yeah. I can't get over Baron Corbin as a babyface.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Baron Corbin as a babyface without Bron Breakker.
Yeah. Weird.
Kind of working for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it right now.
Yeah.
This is good.
That's odd, isn't
it? Yeah. It's just like a weird, like, whoa, he's just going for a hot tag. This is weird. Yeah. Like, and he's just good.
The thing is, he's always been of a certain quality. That's why we liked him down in NXT when he was the Lone Wolf. That's why it was so odd that it just didn't work. The booking of it was
the booking was just like, please be worse than you actually are. Yeah. And that was his booking the whole time. Was like, no, slow down, rest holds. When he can do so much more.
And a reminder of what NXT is, really. A place where you can go, hone your skills, get a reset. And I think when we came to the draft and Bron Breakker was called up and wasn't in King of the Ring, I was like, well, put the War Dogs back together, thank you very kindly. No? Okay. Well, what are you going to do then? And, you know, while this isn't necessarily lighting the world on fire, it sounds like we're giving something quite bland, quite massive praise. What the praise actually is just simple. Yeah. Just simple and good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Good for them.
Yeah. I also want to give a shout out to the commentary on this one, because even when you have low stakes matches like this one, the commentary try and make a reason for this match existing. And even if not every time you're like, it's a bit tenuous, like, I don't know, whatever. This one was just like, look, Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews kind of had a bit of a downturn. They've had much higher highs in their career, so they're just looking to gain some momentum, trying to have a bit of a restart. And it's like, real simple, but just one line on commentary. You go, okay, I see why this match exists.
It's nice.
Cool.
Yeah, there were reports over the weekend that they're bringing in someone from, I think, ASPN Football to be part of the commentary team, which is a little bit of a shame for me, because I think Corey and Wade have been doing really well together. Either way. We go backstage once again outside Nick Aldis's door, and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are still there, and Pretty Deadly come up. They want to talk to him about Pretty Deadly the musical, and Chelsea sort of says, get in line, thank you very much.
And they do, which is great as well. I love that they did it.
And I love that it's these characters, all of these characters together are really fun, and like they are queuing for Nick Aldis's office. But LA Knight pops out, so the assumption there, he's been in there for quite a while, apparently. And he says, oh no, don't worry, he's busy at the moment, and he'll see you in a little bit. And he's got something in his hand, and he heads off. Cody and Randy are backstage, This is where we get that little segment where essentially Orton points out that Kevin Owens isn't here tonight because he's dealing with a family issue. His family are more important to him. I quite like that they didn't just pretend.
Yep.
Like he's, all the best wishes to Kevin's family. Randy says, I know you'll want to deal with them on your own, but I have got your back.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not. And once you've dealt with the Samoans, you're going to have a queue of people coming for that belt, and I've got your back then too. I just can't wait for them to wrestle each other, Pete.
Yeah. And it's like, I feel like we all know it, right?
Yeah.
Orton's like, yeah, I'm going to have your back until I challenge for the belt. Like,
This is what I
feel
mean.
like it feels obvious but not obvious.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
There's including the referencing Kevin's family. There is something about it that just feels like not insulting our intelligence and going, we know you know this is here. We're just going to remind you that it exists, but don't expect it anytime soon kind of thing. It's quite simple, and I missed simple.
Yes.
For a long time,
nice.
so I'm thrilled that it's here.
And it's simple, done well.
Yeah.
You know? That's great.
Love that for us.
Yeah.
LA Knight comes out to the ring to cut a promo. Briefcase or no, he says he's the walking embodiment of Money in the Bank, and he shows us footage of him pinning Logan Paul to qualify for the match as evidence of this. And he says, I pinned the US champion, so I've got myself a contract for the US title. He signs it. Nick Aldis has signed it. He says the only thing missing is a signature from, quote, that edgelord Logan Paul. And he'd love Logan to come down and sign it, but he's not there. He says that doesn't matter. And I really liked this line because he's going to take the belt. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Not because you're not good enough, but because I won't let you. I really like that line. It builds. It says the opponent's good. I'm just more
better.
determined to do this. Now, Logan Paul, there's a graphic been going around over the weekend, has been the United States champion for 250 days, has defended it twice.
Yeah.
I am annoyed by that. And I think it's justified to be annoyed by that. I think a lot of people on the internet have been. He has been present. He has been in high-profile matches. But part of what I'm annoyed by that is because we do have an Andrade, a Carmelo Hayes, a Baron Corbin even, a Santos Escobar, an LA Knight, all of whom are not world championship caliber superstars, especially when you consider Cody Rhodes is the champion, top guy in the industry.
They're not the person to beat Cody.
They're not the person to beat Cody, or even necessarily be on his
challenging for
aura.
Yeah.
They need something though to help them step up to that level.
Correct.
You don't need titles for feuds, but you do. They are useful.
Yeah.
To give people a reason to be, and something to, so they're not just showing up to work and enjoying nice catering. You know. So I very much hope LA Knight wins this match.
Same. I think they've wanted to do that for a very long time, to have LA Knight beat Logan, but they've just been waiting for the right time, and SummerSlam being in Logan's hometown?
Yes.
State. Feels like the right time. I think LA Knight should absolutely win this match, and it is a credit to LA Knight that he is still as over as he was like last year.
Well, because it was Money in the Bank last year in London when Logan and LA Knight had a face-off on SmackDown, and it was like, well, that's going to be this SummerSlam match.
Yeah, and then it wasn't.
And
then we're like, well, it'd definitely be WrestleMania, and then it wasn't. But now we're here at SummerSlam, so I think it's time.
A lot of people did consider LA Knight to be a bit of a flash in the pan, and like a bootleg Rock or
yeah.
And he's still
And now
going.
he's still here and still over as hell. Really enjoyed this promo. Really good.
Good. We had a recap of Cena's retirement, and then we had Blair Davenport taking on Naomi. Naomi is sort of selling the shoulder for Money in the Bank. She has control from the beginning. Davenport takes advantage of a moment, stomping the arm, throwing Naomi into the ring post, but it is all sort of academic. It's a very quick match here. Naomi hits a kind of bubble bomb situation and then rolls Davenport up for the win. I'll carry on. Because backstage we have, she is walking backstage, still sort of nursing that little shoulder injury. She bumps into Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, who celebrate with her. And they're like, you killed it. And she's like, when do you get any titles back? And they're like, well, we tried to talk to Nick Aldis about this, but he's not here. And they have arrived outside Nick Aldis' office while they're talking. So at that point, Chelsea Green sort of stands up like, what? I've been waiting here the whole day. Pretty dead. Like, they take their script and they go away. She storms into the office. They sort of say, well, at least you've put, the tag champs on notice, kind of thing. And Jade and Bianca go away. I didn't really love the segments. Felt very bland, written writing wise to me. But I like that they're not pretending they didn't just have a unit of wrestling.
Yes, yeah.
It's nice that they're there and they're friends together. Chelsea Green comes back out to tell her that Nick Aldis is indeed not there. Storms off, and in between times, Blair Davenport has come up to sort of say, best person won, shake hands, and it's a tentative shaking hands, but it's shaking hands nonetheless. She has left. That's when Chelsea comes back out. Really nicely choreographed segment. You know, the writing itself may have been a bit, early draft, but the staging of it I thought was really effective. Weaved in a lot of different things, allowed for a lot of movement, so it wasn't just standing in front of a backdrop. Because it's when Chelsea then goes away, Naomi's distracted long enough for Blair Davenport to clatter into the back of her, and sort of ha 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 and walk off.
I liked it. I loved all the Chelsea Green stuff in the background while the stuff was happening. I think that was perfect. I would have liked Blair to maybe do a little more than just a one punch, just a little but just like maybe do a bit more, a beat down, stomp a couple times, maybe throw into like a crate or something backstage and then walk off. Just something a bit more like
a submission or something,
off,
and then she gets pulled off by some agents.
Yeah. Or like, stomps on her shoulder or something that's a bit more like targeted, because this was just like, I'm annoyed, and just like hits her once.
and Blair hasn't really been anything.
Exactly.
Yet.
It feels like she needs to have a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I know she's capable of more.
Yeah.
I've seen her wrestle quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it just feels like this was just like a weak beatdown angle when it could have been a little bit more for me. But aside from that criticism, I thought this was all very well done.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Especially again, like the lived in world element of it. I just liked the layers and everyone walking past each other, and it just felt like it made sense. It was quite nice. And then we have the tag team title match, which was a rematch from last week. DIY obviously winning the tag titles last week. Waller and Theory start off quite vicious, actually, throwing the champs into barricades and ring posts and aprons. Oh my. But it doesn't matter, because when we're back from the break, Gargano is taking control again, and he hits, honestly, some great stuff. I do like a bit of tag team wrestling, and we'll get to some good stuff on Collision as well on the tag team front. Ciampa goes for a roll-up, but Waller hits kind of like a face-buster thing to break it up, and then that's when Waller and Theory go for a meet in the middle. But obviously Ciampa's Ciampa. He knows this is coming. He manages to avoid it. And in the ensuing sort of confusion, Grayson Waller knees Austin Theory. And DIY then hit a shatter machine of their own. They hit meet in the middle. They properly connect. They retain their belts. And good for them. Meanwhile, the miscommunication between Waller and Theory continues.
Yeah. I would have thought if this didn't end with the Jacob Fatu beatdown, I don't know if we needed this match. I don't know if we needed the rematch in particular. It continued the miscommunication, which had already been set up. Then we had the Jacob Fatu beating everybody up, and I'm like, worth it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the match. I thought it was perfectly serviceable, a really fun match. But I didn't know if it added particularly to them winning from last week. I don't know if we needed the... And a little criticism here. They said they enacted their rematch clause. I don't like that. Stop doing a rematch clause. That's not a thing. Don't make that a thing.
I think being like they lobbied for a rematch makes sense with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory.
They tried to get a rematch and DIY gracefully accepted it.
Yeah,
something rather than just like they enacted their rematch clause.
Automatic rematch clause.
Because then it books you into a corner, because when your feuds end, you then have to do a rematch, which is stupid. Don't do that. Because then if you don't do that, then it looks like the person just hasn't enacted the rematch clause, which makes them look stupid. Bad. Rematch clause bad. Don't do it. But match was good. Jacob Fatu beatdown was awesome. Do you foresee Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa going for the tag titles against DIY?
Well, I actually hadn't thought about it until you mentioned that. It's not a bad idea, giving them the rest of the bloodline something to do during the SummerSlam run-up, which then does create that sort of like, if you have them, let's say, on the SmackDown before SummerSlam, or I'd rather it happen at SummerSlam, but on the SmackDown before SummerSlam, winning the tag belts, they then can come out with the tag belts looking like the bloodline of old, and the picture that is presented to us is very simply, well, we just need the big gold one to go on Solo. That's an idea. I didn't think about that, but I like the idea.
I think especially because in Solo's video promo earlier, and he was saying like, the Usos held all the gold, like Bloodline held all the gold, we were great and all that stuff, and now Roman had to ruin everything, he failed and all that stuff. So we want to get back to where we were before, and for me, that's including winning the tag belts, I would think. And then maybe, after LA Knights held the US title for a little bit, Jacob Fatu goes after that, So then you have tag belts on Guerrillas of Destiny, you've got US title on Jacob Fatu, and then there's Solo like...
Still,
I need a belt, please.
Yeah, I mean, my only worry with that is that then it becomes the bloodline hogging belts again, and I think that was a frustration for so long because it was that epic reign of Roman. It was also an epic reign for the Usos. I do like there being a competitive division alongside my soap opera storylines, and one of the things I thought when these belts were separated and rebranded was we were going to get that, and it's actually taken several months for both belts to have a sort of change, and the division isn't necessarily there yet. So I don't want them to be hogged.
Yes.
If you can have them win it for a period of time and then it starts to all fall down, maybe.
Yeah, I think you only need to have like the three of them holding the belts, the tag belts and the US title, let's say, for a couple months.
Yeah.
And then you could have like them lose the tag belts and Jacob Fatu has a slightly longer reign with the US title or something like that. I think that works. Just you need to have I feel like it would be good to at least have a few weeks of them coming out with the gold, because then it like establishes the faction. People remember that, and they have like the image in their mind of the faction holding the gold, and that's like an important piece of imagery to solidify the faction's legacy.
Yeah, I get that. That is an interesting thought. I like the idea of it. It's definitely something to keep our eyes on. But that was SmackDown, because then we go into the main event sequence.
Indeed.
I thought this was a like perfectly fine. 3.5, 4-star show.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Did the job. Not as electric as some even recent SmackDowns have been, but thoroughly entertaining.
Yeah,
did the job.
Exactly. Yeah, had a good time.
Continue the stories.
SmackDown. Yeah, a very good show, I think. Let's talk about Collision.
Go on then,
shall we? Which kicked off with a big singles match of Konosuke Takeshita versus Tommy Billington.
Yeah,
Dynamite
the old
Kid.
Dynamite Kid. They had him on last time when they were in Calgary.
And they did it again.
Local talent.
Yeah, local talent, local British talent from Calgary.
Yes. Dynamite Wigan from Calgary.
From Calgary. Tommy Billington. These two are really good. Shocker, you know. That Takeshita lad, I reckon he's pretty good at wrestling, you know. They hit a ridiculous looking superplex in this match. I loved the look of the superplex, because they were both standing on the top rope. You know, sometimes someone's standing on the middle rope and they get someone from the top rope. They were both standing on the top rope, and Takeshita kind of deadlifted him into the suplex. Oh, I loved it.
It was a great move.
Love the look of that. Fun little sequence with tombstone counters, ending with Billington hitting the tombstone, which was great. But Takeshita in the end, obviously, got the win because he's Takeshita and he's awesome. But then the real kind of point, quote unquote, of this match was to the post-match sequence, which was Don Callis, who I think Don was great on commentary through this match, really putting over Tommy Billington as a great talent, just being like, yeah, this kid is fantastic. I mean, he's not Takeshita, but he's doing really, really well. You know, he's only 23 years old and he's got this much in-ring IQ. He's fantastic, all that stuff. And afterwards it led into him trying to recruit Billington to the Don Callis family, being like, me and your uncle go way back. Like, we were trained by the same person. Like, it's going to be great, etc. You should join the Don Callis family. Tommy shakes his hand, but then says, kiss my ass. And he said it like that, which was great.
He said it all British.
Then there was a beatdown with Callis and Takeshita and Carl Fletcher, who came out afterwards. But then they get saved by FTR.
Yes.
Who returned to come out and make the save,
obviously,
which I think was cool.
Yeah, I think it was Dax who had the match with... no, it was Cash, was it? Who was it? One of them. I think
one of them.
FTR Bald.
Yeah.
He had the match with Billington last time around. So they've got a nice, and they had a good like handshake. It was a great match. I really enjoyed it then. So it was nice little bit of symmetry there.
Yeah.
Was good.
Yeah.
Was good.
A good match. And I like FTR coming back. That's nice.
Yeah.
Big fan of that. We got a recap of the Mariah May angle from Dynamite, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Love that angle.
My Sunset Boulevard tweet. It's Nicole Scherzinger, Sunset Boulevard. The 3 people who've seen that musical will know what I'm talking about. She's covered in blood. It was great. It was a very good tweet. I didn't. The niche crossover audience just wasn't there for the tweet.
No, sorry, mate. Sorry, can't tweet them all.
You can't.
We then had a very quick match. I've written Bang Bang Gang versus others.
Yes, they very much were others.
I didn't write down the names because I didn't feel like I needed to. This match was very quick.
Yeah,
and Bang Bang Gang won.
They sure did.
Yep.
Yeah. Do the next bit.
So then there was the point really of this, which was them saying that Jay White's out, he's injured. What a shame. But we've got Juice Robinson's right here. So he's now filling in, and he's now part of the Trios champions. Well, hey, now your Trios champions are the Guns and Juice Robinson.
Well, they sort of had said on commentary that Juice Robinson was absolutely not the reason this match wasn't for the belts was because Juice Robinson is not the champion.
Juice is not part of the championship trio. But then afterwards they were cutting a promo and being like, but actually he is.
But we've got him.
Juice is here.
Yeah.
So he's now 3/4 of the Trios champions. You know, great, awesome. But Christopher Daniels comes out and is like, actually, you can't do that. So, sorry, guys, you are stripped of the belts because Jay White's injured. Sorry, guys. Not much we can do about that. But then the patriarchy come out, and Christian Cage is like, well,
there are three of us.
Great timing. Give us the belts because we're awesome. And Daniel's like, well, can't exactly do that, but I can set up Patriarchy versus Bang Bang Gang, the new version of Bang Bang Gang with Guns and Juice Robinson for the trios titles, which will be happening soon. So, good, I think.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't love the stripping part of it.
I don't either.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, well, I guess sod the Freebirds then.
Yes.
You know, it's established in wrestling that a faction do tend to share. And I think it's perfectly legitimate if Jay White is injured to have Juice sort of step in. I don't have a problem with them going against the patriarchy. I think that'd be quite entertaining.
Absolutely.
But if you want it to be like, you know, we'll solidify you. You're an interim champion, to use the AEW parlance, and we'll solidify you if you win this match.
Yeah.
That would be, I think, preferable to it being Bang Bang Gang, vacant, Bang Bang Gang, except now it's Juice.
Yes.
In the title lineage. Do you know what I mean? And it comes back down to the fact that they're even carrying around 9 belts for me, 2 of which are the same belt but with different straps.
Yeah, I don't understand
it's just
that.
annoying. And I think a lot of it is like, okay, they do have a tendency with their championships. I'm not even necessarily someone who's of the opinion they have too many, but they do have I sometimes am, but they do have a tendency to overcomplicate them when it's not necessary. And I think this was an example of that.
Yeah.
But the solution and the match will be fine.
Yes. I think the match itself I'm looking forward to. I personally would have the patriarchy win. I think that's the more fun route to go at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to the match. Should be good. We had a little promo from Jack Perry about the TNT title, saying that he's going to, be taking on all comers because he's a fighting champion.
Again, he wrestled it with the first ever TNT champion. Whatever happened to that guy?
Yeah, who knows? Anyway. Kings of the Black Throne also had a promo setting up their path to Wembley.
Yes,
all that
they
stuff,
did.
which was
And
great.
Barked at me.
Yeah. Then there was Jeff Jarrett, who had a promo about the Owen Hart tournament and stuff with Martha Hart and all that stuff as well, which is very, very nice. Then we had Roderick Strong versus Dalton Castle. Winner would be taking on Mark Briscoe at Death Before Dishonor.
Was this a winner takes on match, or was it was?
Yes,
I thought
it was
so.
advertised as such.
Okay,
yes, I don't know if they mentioned it throughout the match at
well,
all.
no,
but
it's
I saw
only
it on the
because
graphic.
That's
beforehand.
what I thought.
Yeah,
and then Mark Briscoe cuts a promo saying like, "I'm going to be facing Roddy," and it's like, well, is this live or is this? What are we doing?
I feel like it is live.
Right. Oh, it was.
It's
okay.
I think it's supposed to be like. I think you mentioned as part of the promo, like, I've just found out that I'm going to be facing Roddy Strong, and it's like you must have found out a few seconds prior.
Yeah.
But yes, I believe it was a number 1 contendership.
Maybe I just wasn't paying attention.
But Roddy Strong versus Dalton Castle. Again, a fun match. I had a lot of fun with this one.
I love Dalton Castle.
I love Dalton Castle so much.
Energy.
I really like Roddy Strong as well. I think he's fantastic. And both of them were great in this match. I loved the sequence of like throws that Dalton Castle did, where like he did one and Roddy Strong got right back up, so he was like, nope, and just did it again, and all that stuff. Him getting fired up was great. But in the end, Roddy Strong won, obviously.
Yeah.
Setting up Strong versus Briscoe at Death Before Dishonor, which sounds like a lot of fun.
It does.
That does sound like a great match. I thought this match was good.
Yeah.
I didn't have too many complaints.
No, that's how I feel about a lot of what's coming up on Collision.
Yeah.
Good matches that I don't have too many complaints about, but would I write home about them?
Yeah.
However, I do really enjoy. What was he saying as he came down to the ring? It's like I've seen 27 horses today. Great. That's just really funny.
Yeah.
That was enjoyable. Thank you very much.
Having met Dalton Castle, he's like that in real life.
Great. Perfect.
He's crazy. We then got a little teaser vignette for, I believe it's Hologram, I want to say, is the wrestler that's coming next week.
Yes, and it's not a surprise secret face Ricochet. It's a Mexican star, isn't
Hologram,
it?
Yeah. Who I believe, is going to be coming. I think it said at the end next week.
Next week.
Is going to be coming.
It was cool.
Up, which is cool. We had Kris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway backstage saying they're going to keep taking out Willow Nightingale. This is going to stop for you. This isn't going to stop for you. I really like Stokely Hathaway. I think he's hilarious. Him saying that Willow's favorite color is 3.
That's a great line.
Very funny.
That was a great line.
And yeah, I liked when Stokely was doing his promo. Kris Stat's just making faces in the background.
Now, see, I hated that.
Really?
I really did not like that.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you why. Not because she was, you know, or like hyping, but it just felt like she was like, I don't know. I stopped listening to what Stokely was saying, and I started watching the faces she was pulling.
Yeah.
And they were all very much like, it'd be like he was going like, hey, I heard you were happy, and she would go, and then like, to be hurt, and it was like, it didn't feel like I'm gonna fucking deck you. I'm Kris Statlander. I'm a badass. It felt playground and weird and silly. I just did not like it.
That's interesting.
I didn't think she needed to do it. I think I think it was just that it was making faces based on what he was saying, which made it feel like an improv challenge rather than a promo.
Right.
You know?
I get you. I understand. Yeah.
Also, because for months and months and months on Collision, I've watched Stokely, Stat, and Willow do a promo together, and now I'm just watching them do a promo without us. Like, I don't want this all the time. This feels lazy to me. Yeah. But I like the wrestlers, and I like the work.
Yes. So. Yeah. I personally didn't mind it because I thought it kept the focus on Stat, which I think is where the focus should be. Like, instead of just Stokely's cutting a promo and Stat's there, like, yes. The whole time, you know, it kind of kept the focus on the wrestler, which is where I feel like it should be.
There's something in between the mime show and her being a statue. Yes. I think there's something maybe where there's like she's pacing, she's being, you know, whatever. Like, it just felt silly. Yeah, I didn't think it needed to be.
That's fair. Nyla Rose took on Ava Lawless in another squash match.
4-year veteran Ava Lawless.
4-year veteran Ava Lawless.
That's 4 whole years she's got under her belt.
Experience, I would say. I thought Nyla Rose had some really big Wesley Snipes energy with the "Have you lost your damn mind?" moment in this one from Blade. It's like, "Have you lost your damn mind?" It was great.
Yeah.
She wins in a couple minutes, and later on, she has a promo backstage saying that Mercedes Moné has an open challenge for the TBS title, anybody but Britt Baker, and she says, "I'll take that action." Nyla Rose is so good at promos.
She really is.
She's so funny. I don't know why they don't use her more.
I have thought this for a long time because it was such a big, well, it was a big statement making your first women's champion Riho, and it was a great statement having Nyla be the second. And then what?
Yeah.
I remember vividly her stealing Jade's TBS championship and really enjoying that character.
Yeah.
But really over the past year, has she been injured?
Not that I know of. I think she might have had an injury or two across there, but I don't think it's anything major unless I'm grossly mistaken.
I think she's a very good hand.
Maybe it's
this is just AEW's women's division. They cycle people in and out and don't really have whatever. But even when we had the Collision Dynamite break, I was kind of expecting more. And when you then get the evidence of why, you know, she's such a presence, not just in terms of stature, but also in terms of work and then promo work. This one's going to be real fun.
Yeah,
I like this. It feels like for Dynamite 250. It feels like it's going to be on Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah. It feels like a big match for Mercedes to have with a former champion.
Yes.
You know, good.
Exactly.
That's a good choice.
Yeah. I loved Nyla Rose's line of saying, like, I've never driven a Mercedes.
Oh, but I'm going to wreck one.
I'm going to wreck one.
Yes.
Like, very good.
Loved it.
She's just a really good promo. Yeah. Got a recap of Danielson winning the Owen Hart tournament. And then we had Top Flight versus Shane Taylor Promotions, and that being Lee Moriarty and Anthony Ogogo. Again, a lovely little match.
I really enjoyed this match, actually.
This was great.
Very little in terms of stakes, but I really liked the action on display. I love tag team wrestling, and one of my frustrations with Collision, and I've been quite open about this, is that it has felt like an afterthought of a show. Early on in its run, tag team wrestling was a very important part of Collision, and it felt... The whole critique of AEW has been like the heatless bangers. They just put on matches, and it's like just wrestling for wrestling's sake. And there's a positive to that. And early on in Collision, it very much felt like this is where you go to watch your wrestling on a Saturday. I'm going to watch the wrestling, and I really, really loved it. And then some of that energy feels like it's dissipated over the run of the show over the past year. This was a lovely little tag team match to remind me why I like it.
Yeah. Again, I love all the wrestlers involved in this. I think they're all great. I wish that Anthony Ogogo got more, and I wish that his feud with Cody Rhodes didn't end the way it did, because I liked
Was it an injury?
his push. Well, yeah, it was injury afterwards, yeah, after that match, but also people just kind of didn't like Ogogo after that match.
Right.
Well, they didn't like Cody more, but, you know, I really like the idea of getting over, like, the gut punch as a finisher. Like, that is really unique and cool.
I mean, the guy's an Olympic boxer.
Gold
He
medalist.
punches you, you're going to bleed, like, internally.
Like, yeah, I really like that. But I like that he's getting a bit more here. I thought this was a really fun match. There was also Shane Taylor running interference in the finish of the match. Actually, Andretti equalized on that one. That was enough of a distraction to let Shane Taylor Promotions win. And then they did a beatdown after the bell as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I love Shane Taylor as well. I think he's rad. And apparently very good at beer pong, from what I hear from Ollie and Luke, who've played beer pong with him. Anyway.
This is just the name drop episode of Collision.
It really is, yeah.
Can I? Well, I trained with Anthony Ogogo when he was at London School of Lucha Libre. So
Nice.
how about that?
Yeah. Also realized
He was entertaining offers from WWE and AEW at the time. I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna go. I was like, I know where you're going.
It was also in that match with Dalton Castle. I was thinking back to the time we had him on the Rest Stop podcast all that time ago in 2019, and I realized it was also Matt Taven who was on that episode. With him.
Great!
So it was Matt Taven and Dalton Castle like in the match because Taven was on the outside.
So this show's really about us.
That's the Rest Stop podcast episode we had where they completely hijacked the show. It was awesome. We then had Deonna Purrazzo backstage saying that, she's going to completely burn everything down and rebuild it in the image of the Virtuosa, and she's going to beat up Thunder Rosa some more. And Thunder Rosa came in and said that next week in her home state of Texas, it's going to be her and Deonna Purrazzo, and she's going to win.
Can I give AEW some credit? Twice.
Whoa.
I know.
Okay.
I know. For me.
It's a big episode for Dan.
It really is massive, because famously, I'm on Triple H's payroll. There are two things on this episode in particular that really stuck out to me. Multiple women's segments, reminders of what's coming up, setting up future things. Did they get loads and loads of time? Was the work great? Maybe no, but I really appreciated the regularity and the continued. And so, like, thank you for that. I've been banging on about this for like a year and a half. And I think they are making an effort. I think it was signing Mercedes Moné was a put your money where your mouth is, and I think they have done, and I appreciate that. Keep going, more of that. Thank you very much. The other thing was, like, 4 matches are in place for All In.
Yeah.
And this time last year was when I was starting to pull my hair out because they weren't mentioning it at all.
Yeah.
And I appreciate very much that you are setting up All In to be a show where these are the matches that you should come and see. People want to be on this card. It's Mariah May and Toni Storm, which is a blood feud. It's Danielson and Swerve, which is massive. Like, giving me matches to care about already is a massive improvement on last year.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to see. Thank you very much. Well done, AEW.
Love that. We had the backstage segment with Nyla Rose that I mentioned earlier, and then we had Sky Blue versus Harley Cameron. I don't have much to say about this match. It was all right. It was fine. Sky Blue working babyface in this one. She got the win in the end, which was solid. Again, I don't have a lot to say. I apologize, but it was a match.
It was. This is what I mean by, like, they're giving them the work. The work itself is like, the story is not necessarily there, but it's movement in the right direction, which needs to be encouraged.
Yes, 100%. But I think the real positive of this one came out afterwards, where Sky Blue was backstage, did another promo, and I really like the way that they set this match up, because Sky Blue was like, yeah, I've been doing well and all that stuff, but in order to, like, be the best in AEW, I have to challenge the best, so I'm going to challenge, the greatest AEW women's champion of all time, whatever, Hikaru Shida. Yeah.
I like that. It's like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
but, like, I will.
But I guess I will.
Yeah.
I love the way that they keep promoting Hikaru Shida as, like, a final boss kind of character.
Yeah.
Where she's like, I guess she is great, I wish they did more with her to show her, to show us that that she is. But I like the way they still reference her as that sort of thing. And Sky Blue versus Hikaru Shida sounds very good to me. Then we had the main event tag team match of Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly versus Undisputed Kingdom. This match, again, was interesting. A lot of dynamics at play in this one, with the storyline between Kyle and Undisputed Kingdom and what transpired later of Orange Cassidy and Trent that played into the match as well. Lots and lots of interference towards the end of this one as well, because Roderick Strong was on commentary for the whole thing, then came down towards the end, ran interference. Trent ran interference on Orange Cassidy, and Undisputed Kingdom got the win in the end. The action itself I thought was pretty good. These guys are good wrestlers, unsurprising. I love Kyle O'Reilly.
Yes.
Please give him more.
Yes.
I'd love him so much. I will never tire of seeing a spot where he has a submission, someone comes to interrupt the submission, and then he puts them in a submission as well. I will never tire of that spot. It's one of my favorite things. But really, I think the drama of this match came in the post-match angle.
Yeah.
So
quite big.
Let's break this down, because Undisputed Kingdom won at the end with some Roderick Strong interference and some Trent interference as well. Then Trent getting in Orange Cassidy's face on the outside, being like, "This is what happens. This is what I'm going to do to you. And now I'm going to go beat up your friend," because your friend's in the ring still. Goes to beat up Kyle O'Reilly, and Undisputed Kingdom are like, whoa. We're still friends with Kyle O'Reilly. Let's not beat him up here. And Trent's like, well, I'm supposed to be proving myself. I'm trying to prove my point here. Come on, guys, get out of my way. Meanwhile, Orange Cassidy gets in the ring with a monkey wrench.
With a big old wrench.
Big old wrench in his hand, and just nails Trent on the back of the head.
Yeah.
Which in most other circumstances is attempted murder.
It's a Cluedo moment.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. That's a strong old weapon.
It was Orange Cassidy in the ring with a wrench.
Yeah. That's... And I really liked everybody's selling of this. Like, Undisputed Kingdom were like, whoa, dude.
Jesus,
calm down. Whoa, okay.
We were just having fun.
I guess we'll go then. Kyle O'Reilly came in and, like, kind of put his hand on the wrench and be like, dude? Okay, let's put that down, shall we? Let's chill. I liked Orange Cassidy's selling of this, of him nailing Trent, and then him almost, like, having, like, this dark features all over his face, just like, I'm gonna hurt you. Like, you've permanently scarred me, and I will hurt you. Was really, really good. But then the bit afterwards was Ishii came out and beat up Undisputed Kingdom, and then the babyface all stood tall. And I was like, has that undercut the seriousness of the monkey wrench thing a little bit?
Yeah. Pulling back the curtain, I didn't see the show until this morning, but I did see briefly online a clip of Orange Cassidy backstage after the fact being interviewed and be like, what just happened kind of thing. So I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder what that's going to be when I watch the show.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And I think that it was such a... there's something so vicious about it. It is a big old bash with a big old wrench that makes you then go, that's different for Orange Cassidy. This is not the cool, chill... Even when he's like international champion, defending it, bleeding, whatever, he's got that in him. This is a different side to Orange Cassidy, which did feel a little bit undercut by the idea of him having his arm raised in the air like an average babyface. I was a little bit like, let the seriousness simmer. Like Michael Jackson, gotta let it simmer. Do you remember that? Did you see that film?
I don't remember that.
In his film This Is It, he talks about it. They play the drums too quickly. He's like, no, you gotta let the moment simmer. You gotta let it simmer. I thought they had to let the moment simmer. And they didn't, which was a bit odd. But then also, I suppose you've got to send the fans home happy.
Yeah.
But the moment itself was good. So let's focus on that.
Yes. Moment itself was good. I'm really curious to see what this means for Orange Cassidy going forward.
Yeah.
I like the extra element of the character. I think the monkey wrench was a good choice.
Yeah.
Because if you'd have done like a kendo stick or a chair, people would have gone like, "Way, wrestling weapon."
It would have felt a little bit bland.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas this was like, oh god.
Yeah.
That's like kind of like the big moment to make you like take that step back to go, whoa, dude.
Yeah.
Let's just calm down. Which was a great choice, I think. And the show then ended with a preview for MJF Ospreay on Dynamite.
Yes.
Cool.
What a treat.
Yes. Can't wait
MJF
for that match.
going off about England losing.
It's very funny.
On Twitter.
It's pretty funny though, isn't it?
Yeah, except he said the British can't do this. Well, the British didn't. All right, England did.
Very different, mate. Anyway, yeah.
And anyway, the England women won the Euros a couple of years ago, so we're actually quite good.
Yeah. But he is talking about English men, though.
Yeah.
He's talking about Ospreay.
But we still won the Euros a couple of years ago.
It's coming home. That was Collision. I thought it was an okay show.
Yeah, it was fine.
Nothing super to write home about, but solid bit of wrestling.
I think this is it. It's like it was good for what it was.
Yes.
Which is a weird compliment and a neg at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the show then, I guess.
Yeah.
We've done it, everybody.
We achieved.
We did it. It's coming home. Thank you so much for watching this show. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because we're going to be back with a Raw review tomorrow.
And what a Raw it's shaping up to be.
Which
We've got,
will be me and you again,
will
I think.
It?
Yeah, I
you
think
didn't
so.
tell me that. That's
yeah.
fun.
I kind of remembered it today.
Okay.
So I think it's me and you again tomorrow.
Lovely, gal.
Yeah, which is great. So subscribe for more of us. Like the video if you're here. We'll be back with Raw tomorrow.
We've got Sheamus taking on Bronson Reed. We
Big.
have Sami Zayn, Ilya Dragunov. Is it a championship match? I think it might well be. Damian Priest and Gunther are face to face, and Rhea Ripley's back. Everybody.
Oh, can't wait for that. Can't wait. Thank you guys so much for watching. Been joined by Dan Layton. I'm Pete Quinnell, and we'll see you guys soon. Jam that jam!